Welcome to the deep dive. We take your sources, dig through them, and pull out the key insights, basically giving you a shortcut to being genuinely well-informed.
That's the goal.
And today, we're diving into a book that honestly has already challenged a lot of my own thinking. It's The Courage to be Disliked by Ichiro Kishimi and Fumitake Koga.
Yes, a really fascinating one.
It's not your typical self-help read, is it? It's set up as this dialogue, a conversation between a philosopher and a young man.
Exactly. And it digs deep into Alfred Adler's psychology.
Adler, right. He's not as famous as, say, Freud or Jung, but his ideas here seem pretty revolutionary.
They really are. And the core question they tackle in the book, well, it's the big one. How can a person actually be happy?
And the philosopher in the book, he seems convinced Adlerian psychology is the key. He argues the world's actually simple, and happiness. It's right there for the taking, instantly.
It's a bold claim, definitely, that happiness is within reach for everyone right now.
So, if you've ever found yourself kind of stuck, wondering why making changes feels so incredibly difficult, or maybe why some relationships just feel like a constant struggle, then get ready for some potential aha moments. We're going to unpack some pretty profound ideas today about freedom, connection, and what happiness really looks like.
Let's do it.
Okay, so let's start with that basic question. Can people actually change? The youth in the book, he's pretty adamant. He argues people can't change, no matter how much they want to.
Right. He's quite cynical about it. He even suggests that's why people get sucked into dubious self-help seminars, because they want to change but feel powerless.
It's quite a starting point, isn't it? Pessimistic.
It absolutely is. And that leads straight into one of the book's core distinctions, etiology versus teleology.
Okay. Etiology. That sounds familiar. Sort of like cause and effect.
Exactly. Think Freudian psychology. The idea that your past, things like childhood trauma, bad experiences, determines who you are now and who you'll be in the future.
Right, like psychological determinism. Your past locks you in.
Precisely. The philosopher uses an example of a friend who basically hides away at home. The friend believes his past, specifically parental abuse, is the direct cause of his inability to function socially now.
Okay, so that's the standard view, maybe. If you had that past, you end up like this. Fixed.
But that's where Adler comes in and flips the whole thing on its head with teleology.
Teleology.
Purpose. Yes, purpose. Adler flat out denies trauma in that deterministic sense. He says, and this is key, no experience itself is the cause of success or failure. Instead, we make of that experience whatever suits our purpose. So it's not about past causes dictating the present. It's about your present goals, your purpose right now.
So the experience happened, but it doesn't force your current behavior. You choose the meaning.
Exactly. The meaning you give the past shapes how you use it now. What am I trying to achieve by acting this way? That's the Adlerian question. It puts the power back in the present moment.
Wow. Okay, that is a massive shift. And does this apply to emotions too, like anger? The youth challenges him on this.
He does. And the philosopher gives this brilliant example. A mother is absolutely furious, yelling at her daughter.
Oh, I remember reading this part.
Right. Then the phone rings. She picks it up, hears it's her daughter's teacher, and instantly, like flipping a switch, her tone becomes polite, calm, respectful. Phone call ends, and bang, back to yelling at the daughter.
So the anger wasn't this uncontrollable force that just washed over her?
Not at all. Adler would say she used the anger. It was a tool to achieve her purpose, to dominate her daughter, to make her listen, to win the power struggle. You'll be turned on and off.
That really makes you rethink those moments when you feel overwhelmed by emotion. You have to ask, what's the purpose here? Even if it's unconscious.
Exactly. What am I trying to gain or achieve with this feeling?
So if we're not just products of our past, and even our emotions can be tools, what about our personality, our basic disposition?
Well, this is where Adler's concept of lifestyle comes in. And it's really empowering. He suggests we actually choose our lifestyle, our personality, our way of reacting to the world, often unconsciously, somewhere around age 10.
10. Wow. That seems young to make such a fundamental choice.
It does, but the crucial part is, if you chose it then, even unconsciously, you can choose it again now. You're not stuck. You're not determined by your past. You determine your life by the meaning you give things.
Okay.
The philosopher talks about an aspiring novelist. This guy constantly says he wants to write but never submits anything. He makes excuses, too busy, inspiration isn't right.
Yeah, we all know someone like that, maybe, or someone like that.
Right. But Adler would say his purpose isn't actually to become a novelist. His purpose is to avoid potential criticism or failure.
Ah, so he protects himself by not trying.
Precisely. He keeps that possibility open. I could do it if I really tried, but avoids the risk of finding out he might not be good enough. Adler calls this a life lie.
A life lie. So it's not just procrastination, it's an active, though perhaps unconscious, decision not to change.
Exactly. It shifts the responsibility. It's not external factors stopping you. It's your internal choice, your purpose. It forces you to ask, what life lies might I be telling myself?
Oh, okay. That's a lot to chew on. So if we have this power, this freedom from the past, why do we still struggle so much? Why all the problems?
Well, according to Adler, the answer lies outside of just ourselves. He argues quite radically that all problems are interpersonal relationship problems.
All problems, seriously. Like every single one.
That's the claim. It's huge. The book says it is only in a social context that one becomes an individual. You can't exist in a vacuum. Even if you were totally alone on a desert island, the thought of others, the feeling of loneliness, it's still about your relationship or lack thereof with other people. Our existence fundamentally involves others.
So are there any problems Adler would say are purely internal, just about me, myself, and I?
It seems unlikely from his perspective, because that social context shapes even our deepest feelings, like inferiority.
Right, feelings of inferiority. We all feel that sometimes. The philosopher says these aren't objective facts, though. They're subjective judgment.
Exactly. They're value judgments we make in comparison to others. He uses his own height, 61 inches, same as Adler himself. Initially, he felt inferior because of it.
Okay.
But then he realized, wait, if nobody else existed, the concept of short wouldn't even apply to me. It only exists because there are other people to compare myself to.
Ah, so the fact is his height. The feeling of inferiority is the subjective meaning he gives that fact in relation to others.
Precisely. And he chose to reframe it. He decided his height was an advantage. It made people feel relaxed around him, less intimidated. It shows we can choose the meaning.
That's powerful. Perception is key. So this leads to compensating for inferiority. But there's a healthy and unhealthy way, right?
Yes, a crucial difference. Healthy compensation is about effort and growth. You feel lacking in an area, so you study harder, you train more, you practice diligently. It's constructive.
Okay, that makes sense. Striving to improve.
But the inferiority complex, that's different. That's when you use your feeling of inferiority as an excuse. Oh, I can't succeed because I didn't go to the right school.
Yeah.
Or I'm not naturally talented, so why bother?
So it becomes a justification for not changing. Another kind of life lie.
Exactly. It stops you from taking responsibility and making an effort.
And then there's the other side. The superiority complex.
Right. The flip side. This isn't genuine confidence. It's about appearing superior, often using what Adler calls borrowed power.
Like bragging constantly or name-dropping famous people you barely know.
Exactly that. Or showing off wealth, like the example in the book of someone flashing expensive rings.
Yeah.
Adler suggests it often stems from a hidden, deep-seated feeling of inferiority. It's a made-up feeling of superiority. It even includes using weakness or misfortune to control others. Adler points out how a baby, through helplessness, exerts immense power over adults, or someone using their victimhood to manipulate.
So inferiority complex, superiority complex, they're really just two sides of the same coin, both rooted in insecurity.
That's the Adlerian view. Both come from getting stuck in comparisons and competition.
Right. If life feels like a constant competition, win or lose, better or worse, then you're always going to be oscillating between feeling inferior or needing to prove you're superior.
Absolutely. You're constantly measuring yourself against others.
Yeah.
And it makes it impossible to genuinely be happy for someone else's success, doesn't it? You see it as your loss.
Yeah, totally.
But Adler says, once you step out of that competitive frame, when you stop seeing people as rivals and start seeing them as comrades, the need to win vanishes, the fear of losing vanishes,
And
then you can actually celebrate others' happiness. You can contribute to it without feeling threatened. People become fellow travelers, not competitors. It's a fundamental shift.
Okay, shifting from competition to comradeship. That requires letting go of needing approval, doesn't it? Which brings us to the next big idea, separating tasks.
Yes, this is maybe one of the most practical and powerful concepts. Freedom through the separation of tasks.
The youth in the book really fights this one initially. He argues that needing recognition, wanting approval, that's just basic human nature. Society runs on it.
It's a common belief, for sure. But the philosopher counters. Living only to meet others' expectations is exhausting. It's a heavy burden, and ultimately you sacrifice your own selfness. your authenticity. You end up living someone else's life.
So the solution is the separation. What does that look like in practice?
It means clearly understanding what is my task here and what is someone else's task. And crucially, don't intervene in their tasks and don't let them intervene inappropriately in yours.
Okay, give me an example.
Well, the book uses parenting. A child's task is to study or not study. The parent's task is to provide support, create a good environment, offer help if asked, but not to force the child to study.
Because forcing them is intervening in their task.
Exactly.
Right.
And it can backfire, making the child feel controlled and less likely to take ownership. Or think about relationships. The philosopher mentions a student afraid of blushing, using it as an excuse not to confess her feelings.
Right.
Confessing is her task. Dealing with her fear is her task. How the other person reacts, that's their task. You can't control their reaction, only your action.
Or like dealing with an unreasonable boss who's always angry.
Perfect example. The boss's anger. That's their task, their issue to manage. Your task is to do your job well. You don't have to take responsibility for their emotional state or try to fix it.
That's liberating, but also hard. It requires letting go of control over outcomes.
It does. The philosopher even applies it to his difficult relationship with his own father, who had been abusive.
Yeah, that was a powerful part.
He realized he'd been using the bad relationship as an excuse, almost a form of revenge, making it his father's fault that he wasn't happy.
But Adlerian thinking shifted that.
Yes. He understood that improving the relationship, or at least his approach to it, was his task, regardless of whether his father changed or apologized. It was about his own choice.
And eventually he cared for his father, and his father said thank you.
A simple thank you, after years of difficulty. It wasn't about forcing change in his father, but about the philosopher fulfilling his own task, his own choice to connect differently.
This all leads to that really provocative phrase in the title, the courage to be disliked. True freedom means not needing everyone to like you.
Wow. It sounds almost antisocial at first, doesn't it?
A little bit. Our culture pushes us so hard to be liked, to fit in.
But think about it. If your main goal is to never be disliked, you're constantly compromising, trying to meet impossible expectations, like a politician promising everything to everyone. Eventually it falls apart. You lose trust, and you're trapped.
So embracing the possibility that some people just won't like you no matter what you do, that's freedom.
That's the courage to be happy, Adler would say. It's the freedom to live according to your own principles, to climb your own path, even if others disapprove. It's about focusing on your tasks.
Okay, so we separate tasks, we find the courage to be disliked. But we still need connection, right? We can't just be totally independent islands. How do we build healthy relationships then?
Absolutely. And this brings us to Adler's ideas about horizontal relationships and this concept of community feeling.
Horizontal relationships as opposed to vertical.
Exactly. Adler argues that things like praise and reprimand actually reinforce vertical relationships hierarchies. One person is up here judging, the other is down there being judged.
Even praise. We think of praise as good.
But think about why you praise. Often it implies you're in a position of superiority, evaluating someone below you. The book uses the example. You might praise a child for helping clear the table. Good job. But would you say that to your partner?
Probably not. It would feel condescending.
Right, because it implies an unequal power dynamic. Praise can be a subtle form of manipulation, training someone to do what you want by offering conditional approval.
So if praise and reprimand create these vertical, unequal relationships, what's the horizontal alternative?
Simple, genuine gratitude. Encouragement based on equality. Instead of good job, you say thank you, or that was a real help, or I appreciate you.
Ah, so you acknowledge the contribution without making a judgment about the person's inherent worth or ability.
Precisely. It builds connection based on mutual respect and acknowledges their usefulness. It helps the other person feel genuinely valuable because they contributed, not because they met your standard of good. It fosters that feeling of being useful.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, this community feeling or social interest, that sounds a bit abstract. What does Adler mean by community?
It's a really expansive idea. It's not just your family or your workplace or your town. For Adler, community includes basically everything.
Everything.
All of humanity, past, present, and future. Nations, cultures, even plants, animals, the whole universe, inanimate objects. It's about recognizing this vast interconnectedness.
Wow. That's broad. How does that huge concept help with, like, my annoying coworker?
Well, the smallest unit of community, Adler says, is you and I, starting there. But the broader view helps put things in perspective. When you're facing trouble in a small community like problems at work or feeling excluded at school, Adler suggests you listen to the voice of the larger community,
Meaning?
meaning realize that the power or rules of that small community, like your boss's authority, are limited. From the perspective of humanity as a whole, or the universe, those specific rules or judgments seem much smaller, maybe even trivial, a storm in a teacup.
So seeing the bigger picture helps you not get so bogged down by the small stuff. It gives you courage to maybe leave that toxic small community if needed.
Exactly. It helps you see that your worth isn't defined solely by that one context. You belong to a much larger community, and within that, everyone is fundamentally equal. It can give you the courage to step outside the teacup.
It also connects to why some people seek attention in less healthy ways, that easy superiority thing.
Yes. When people feel they aren't getting recognition or belonging in positive ways, they might resort to being special by being bad.
Like kids acting out, truancy, maybe even self-harm.
Or adults engaging in deliberately problematic behavior. The underlying purpose, Adler suggests, is still to get attention, to feel special, even if the attention is negative. It's a shortcut to validation, but he calls it a sick lifestyle because it lacks harmony and genuine contribution.
Which ties into another really countercultural idea, the courage to be normal. Most people don't want to be normal or ordinary.
Right. We're often taught that normal equals mediocre, incapable. But Adler flips that too. He says rejecting normalcy often comes from confusing it with incapability. True courage lies in accepting your normal self.
Why strive to be special if you can accept being? Well, just human.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It takes pressure off. It allows for genuine self-acceptance instead of constantly needing to prove your superiority or uniqueness.
This all leads towards Adler's view of life itself, not as a line, but as a dance.
Yes. The conventional view is life as kinesis, a line, a story, a journey towards a destination, like climbing a mountain to reach the peak. Happiness is always somewhere in the future when you get there.
Yeah, that sounds familiar. I'll be happy when.
But Adler sees life as energia, like a dance. The value isn't just in reaching the final pose, it's in the process of dancing, moment by moment. Happiness isn't at the destination, it's found in the dance right here, right now.
So it's about being fully present in each moment, not just focusing on the end goal.
Precisely. Living earnestly and carefully in the here and now. The past doesn't determine you, the future is unknown. All you have is this moment, this dance step.
So how do we actually do that? How do we live that dance and find happiness now? Adler gives 3 pillars, right?
Yes, 3 key pillars for happiness. First is self-acceptance.
Which isn't about pretending you're perfect.
Not at all. It's about accepting your incapable self as you are. If you get 60% on a test, you accept the 60%. You don't delude yourself into thinking you're really 100%, but just unlucky. You calmly accept the reality.
And focus on what you can change, not what you can't.
Exactly. It's very much like the Serenity Prayer. Accept what you cannot change, have the courage to change what you can, and the wisdom to know the difference. That's self-acceptance.
Okay. Pillar 1, self-acceptance. What's number 2?
Number 2 is trust in others. And this is unconditional trust.
Unconditional. That sounds risky. What if people take advantage?
That's the risk, and it requires courage. Adler distinguishes between credit, which is conditional trust, like a bank loan, expecting collateral, and true trust, which is unconditional. It's believing in others without demanding proof or guarantees.
Why is that so important?
Because it's the foundation for deep, horizontal relationships. If you constantly doubt people, they'll sense it, and you can never build real connection. Unconditional trust, born from self-acceptance, knowing you can handle betrayal if it happens, opens the door to profound relationships. Of course, if someone repeatedly betrays that trust, separating the task means you choose to end that specific relationship.
Okay, so self-acceptance, unconditional trust. And the third pillar.
The third, and maybe the cornerstone, is contribution to others.
This is where happiness really lies, according to Adler.
Yes, the subjective feeling that I am useful to someone, that I'm contributing to the community in that broad sense we discussed, that feeling is happiness.
And contribution doesn't have to be some grand gesture.
Not at all. It can be work, yes, any kind of work, paid or unpaid, housework, volunteering, hobbies that connect you. But Adler makes a profound point. Sometimes simply existing is a contribution.
Just being here.
Think of someone very ill or elderly. Their very presence can be a source of joy and connection for their loved ones who care for them. Just by being, they are contributing to the happiness and sense of purpose of others. It's about feeling useful within the community.
Wow. Self-acceptance, trust, contribution. That's the path. So we've really unpacked a lot here. These Adlerian ideas are quite radical, aren't they? That we're not just shaped by our past trauma, but driven by present goals.
Right, that our emotions are tools, maybe used unconsciously, but tools nonetheless. And that fundamental idea, all problems are interpersonal or relationship problems. It really changes how you look at things.
Yeah, it does. And understanding that feelings of inferiority or superiority come from subjective comparisons, from seeing life as a competition.
And the way out is embracing that courage to be normal, stepping off the competitive treadmill.
And finding happiness not in getting praise or recognition, but in that feeling of contribution.
Exactly, that sense of, I am useful, even in small ways, even just by being here for someone. That's where genuine happiness is found, in that feeling of belonging through contribution.
And I love that idea of life as a dance, not a race. Focusing on the here and now, on the steps we're taking right now.
It requires cultivating that self-acceptance, finding the courage for unconditional trust, and focusing on how we can contribute.
It definitely takes courage. The courage to be disliked, like the title says, the courage to accept ourselves, flaws and all, the courage to trust and connect.
It's a whole different way of engaging with the world, really. Requires constant practice.
So as you listening reflect on all this, maybe consider this. If happiness really is that feeling of contribution, what dance steps, however small, can you take today? How can you feel more useful, more connected, and embrace your freedom right here, right now?